Hello! Let's talk about game design. This is the second video of the Let's Make a Platformer series where we are going to design, develop and publish a platformer game. In this one, we are going to talk about the pre-production of the game, how we can design, and just a small observation, the game design is a living process. We are going to apply design as we make the game, the whole game, so game design will be continuously applied during the development. And also how we can manage the project. This is very important because most people complain about, hey, I don't know, I'm not motivated enough, I don't know how to finish the game because I lose motivation. You don't need motivation if you have processes, if you have all the tasks that you must accomplish before you release your game, all the small steps that lead you towards the goal, which is the product, the final product. Later, if you sit down and note everything that you need to create just so you can release your game, you don't need motivation, you just need to wake up and do your stuff, okay? So let's get started. I will start by showing my process. This is the process that I often use for small projects, which is the case of this one. This is the process that I use to design small games, especially for game jams. I started by making the concept of the game. Actually, I start by understanding the boundaries, which I mean, what are the limitations that I have to make this game? Will I have enough time? How much time do I have? How much money do I have to invest in that? What are the odds that this will pay itself off? What is the goal of this game? Do I want to learn something? Do I want to teach something, which is the case of this series? So all this is taken into account when I start to make the design of a game. But I started with the concept. I will go through just briefly about the design of this game. This game that we are going to make is about the square, which is the main protagonist. The square is a shape that was banished from the shapes pantheon by the triangle and the circle. And they made that because the square must prove itself worthy to be on the shapes pantheon. So the triangle is the main antagonist. It is a shape that contrasts a lot with the square. But a small spoiler, it is the square's father. The idea here is that each shape has its own abilities, that they can create the shapes of the world. The name of the game is World of Shapes. I think that I will have to change that because I noticed that there is a game about that. There is a game with this title already. But nonetheless, the concept of this game is that these shapes work on the world by creating the objects that mimic their shapes. So for instance, the square has the ability to create platforms, create ground, create walls, and so on. The triangle has the ability to create spikes, create, let me zoom in, slopes and unstable ground in platforms. So for instance, one thing that I thought about is to have the square creating a platform that will fall on the ground, and the triangle will create a spike that will make this platform unstable. The player will have to balance out the platform because it will be unbalanced. And the circle is the secondary antagonist. It's designed to pass the idea of swiftness, speed and motion, so it creates rolling stones, pendulum blades and saws. The idea of the triangle is about anger and instability, so it creates spikes, slopes, and we already talked about that. And the square is the main character. It can create platforms, ground, walls. It's designed to be a bit bold and pass a sense of stability. And it has a set of movement that will enable it to move around the levels. Talking about levels, let's go to the game itself. Well, we'll not go through the screens, but there is the main concept here is that the game is a platformer, and the main thing here is to pass the idea that the levels are not side scrollers, that are not big. There will be a single screen level which all the elements can be seen in a single screen, so the player will just have to figure out how they can collect all the coins that are spread in this level to unlock the portal to the next level. That's the design of the game. This is the main loop of the game. Collect all the coins, go to the next level, and so on. The levels will be built of hazards. Hazards are basically enemies that don't have any kind of intelligence. I decided not to use any AI here, so we will not have enemies because this will cost a lot and a lot of time and a lot of money, so I don't want to invest on that. Something that I thought about that would be really cool to have is an intro cutscene on every level that's going to introduce the levels features. So for instance, the coins will pop up on the screen, the player will always appear on a void, on an empty room, and the coins will appear, they will pop up on the screen. The square will create the floor, the walls that will help it collect these shapes, collect the coins, and the triangle and the circle will appear and create the hazards that will try to prevent the player from reaching their goal. So I created a small presentation to showcase what are the main concept of the game. So let's talk about that. Let's see this presentation. Here is the void. This is basically how every level will start, without this zoom in, without this stuff. So the square will create the ground and stuff like this. Then the other shapes will appear to make it, to prevent it from reaching the goal. So the triangle will create spikes, slopes as well, which will make the movement of the square harder. And there are the coins. Again, the square can create ground to collect these coins. Then the circle will appear, and the circle is one of the shapes that has the most interesting mechanics, because it will provide moving mechanics. So you can see that we'll have these pendulum blades, and the square will have to figure out how it can collect these coins. So this is the main concept of the game. After making everything like that, I also made a small GDD, just a very small, just so I can have a sense of what the game is about and how the story will develop, and of course the controls, just so I can have a small documentation about the actions that I will have to implement in Godot, stuff like this. After that, here goes the part where most people struggle to do: planning the game, planning the project, listing out every feature, every bug, everything that you have to make, every task that you have to make in order to have a final product at the end. So you don't have to start with every task that you actually need to create the game. You can start with the overall topics, like what this game will be about. So we have to create the character controller, we have to create collectibles, we have to create hazards, make the level design, and then you can list everything like this. And when you start to make this task, you have to list out everything that is actually, every small task that will complete this feature. So this is how I often manage my projects. Note that this is how everything will be managed on the background, but you can manage however you want. This is my process, this is my method to develop games. Feel free, you just have to have a methodology that you can follow, and you will, at the end of your processes, you will end up with your product. And note that, I will mention that again, don't rely on motivation. I have a video here on the channel which is very unknown actually, but it's about don't trust on motivation. You don't need that. It's often the other way around. First, start to make your stuff. Start to code. Commit to, I don't know, 1 hour of coding, 1 hour to a product. You will just sit down for 1 hour and start to make stuff on your game, start to make your tasks. As you work on that, motivation will appear somehow. You will start working, you feel like you are doing good, or you may feel that you are not completing everything, but it doesn't matter, because you can, small progress is better than no progress at all. And no progress at all often leads to, how can I say, the inverse of progress, regression. So if you are not making progress, you are actually regressing. Sit down, make your stuff, list down the stuff that you want to make, list down everything that you think that is necessary to release your game, start to make this stuff, and keep up. So that's it. This is the design of our game. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to leave your comments, to leave your feedback, because this will be our game. So this will be very interesting to participate, because at the end you have this game available for yourself as well. You'll be able to publish this very game on your own. So because everything will be public domain. So feel free to leave feedbacks. If you want to request features, enter on our Discord server. We can chat there. And that's it. Subscribe, because there will be more content soon. I am thinking about making some live streams as I develop some stuff, as I develop some features. So turn on the notifications so you don't miss them. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Keep developing, and until the next time. This video was brought to you by my patrons. Thank you so much for your support.